Good morning, it's me, ᴑᴜᴜᴛ, and today I'll be talking about my trip to Scotland. So, when did I go to Scotland again? Right, so I found when we went, 17th of July, and we didn't actually go to Scotland first, but we instead went to a town or city called Carlisle up in the north, right next to the border of Scotland. Since we're from Hull, we took the road towards Leeds, up Newcastle, and then towards Carlisle. And we noticed that as we were heading to Carlisle, Hadrian's Wall was on the way as we were going through the Pennines, which were quite scenic. And so we headed towards, if I remember correctly, Birdswold's fort or something like that. And we headed there and we took a look around, and it was quite scenic, quite peaceful, quite nice, very enjoyable. Anyhow, we stayed the night in Carlisle, um, watching the football because the Euros was on, and just resting and looking at the animals that were inside the garden. So yeah, really nice start off in Carlisle. Also at Birdswold's fort, we saw the fort, saw the road. I climbed on the fort, and it was quite nice and quite interesting to see how long the wall was. We also saw I think a Chinook, which is a military helicopter. So extremely cool. And so we took the time to rest. Then on the next day, if I see correctly, it was Friday the 18th, and we headed north through the southern uplands, heading into Scotland through the town of Gretna Green. So heading through these uplands, which were quite nice and stunning, and we passed through Glasgow before we went more west and north, and we went by one of Scotland's most famous loch, if I pronounce that correctly, Loch Lomond, and which was extremely long. Anyway, so we went north and north and north, and then we got to about Fort Williams ish. We went to Loch and we stayed at Loch which was quite nice. So the actual Scottish Highlands were stunning, and it was really scenic, and I really enjoyed going through Glasgow and the mountains. So we were around Loch for the next uh, 3 days: Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And we looked at those 3 days, and we noticed that we had a problem. There was, during July, some storms heading in from the south, so it's going to be rainy, and we didn't want to do Ben Nevis. So we decided to do it on Saturday the 19th. And we got there about 9:45. It was early morning, very nice. I really did enjoy the view, and it was a lot more clearer because the cloud hadn't gone in. It was a lot more cleaner. And I really did enjoy, beauty of the mountains. Anyway, we got there at Pen Nevis car park, and we got there about quarter to 9, and we decided to begin heading off to the mountain. So we obviously took some food, we took some medicine. My dad decided it'd be a good idea to bring 2 liters of water. That's 2 kilos of water for no reason. But alas, it is what it is. And so we just decided to head up the mountain. And we went up the mountain. Now, obviously, you need to know that Ben Nevis is about at least is 1,345 meters tall. So it's a tall mountain. So it's not the most enjoyable. But we were getting there, taking our time. We went past the halfway point, saw that wondrous loch in the middle, crossed over the rivers, and we went up the zigzags and went to the plateau. And whilst it was quite steep at the very beginning and at the very end, and somewhat more flatter down the very middle, as we were going up to about 1,200 meters, the view was incredible. Like I could see ḻᴇᴏ from there, and I could see the lochs and the mountains, and it's really good, really, really nice, really, really scenic. We still was not at the top because there was at least another 40, 50, some 100 meters to climb. And when we looked up there, we saw, oh no, it's all shrouded in clouds. So me and my dad went on, continued going on, and we just we stumbled across this steep cliff that we had to climb. It wasn't a cliff of some sort, but we had to definitely scramble across it. And we scrambled up and up and up. We eventually managed to find ourselves, you know, in the clouds, and we did find the old observatory, which is important for making the cloud chamber, which allowed people to find the neutrons and the leptons, which I think it's the lepton for the atoms. That was really, really cool, and we saw the ruins of the mountain. And obviously, I managed to get to the top, took some pictures, and ate lunch in ruins of the clown chamber. Only quite cold and misty hilltop. It was also quite windy, considering that there was nothing guarding us from the wind, because we were so high up. The wind just kept blowing and blowing, and that was wondrous in and of itself. However, our descent journey really wasn't that nice. So we going up there. It said it'd take us through about 4 hours. It took me and my dad about 5ish hours, which is all right. But going down, they said it'd be about 3 hours. So if we add another hour, it should have taken us 4 hours. It should be 9 hours. Unfortunately, as we were going down, my dad complained about some leg pain, mainly because we didn't know how to walk properly down a mountain. And we we decided, all right, we've got some leg pain, we'll take it slowly. Now the issue is that the leg pain really began to kicking about like 1,000 meters above sea level, so 1,100 meters above sea level, and it was really painful. But the issue is we can't camp on Ben Nevis. We had to do something because if we camp on Ben Nevis, you know, you're not allowed to do that. Plus, we didn't bring any tents. So we we were going down. We were going down. I'm just here going slowly, like, oh come on, seriously, not again. Like, why is it taking so long? My dad's in agony. He he also rejected the ibuprofen cream, even though he said, oh, wouldn't have done anything. I said, just give it a try. He said no, and I can't say no to my dad, can I? So we continue heading down the mountain, and it took us about 7ish hours. Along the route, we found a broken walking stick, which really helped my dad. And then towards the very end, he needed another walking stick, but there wasn't another walking stick because we didn't buy any. So I became in the walking stick. Also, I was carrying 2 kilograms. I was carrying a 2 liter water bottle full of water. That's not fun, is it? So, um, so you can probably think of scene. It's like wonderful. But it's like 9 o'clock now. It's been like almost 12 and a half hours since we went up the mountain, and you see my dad struggling across with a broken walking stick, me, my shoulders in pain because of the bag and his arm, and it's just non painful. Like I told my mom, oh no, I will be there by 5. Then it went to 6 and 7, and just like we got home about 10. And it was just tired. I was tired from overworking. My dad was in agony and in absolute pain. But we did it. I mean, one of the benefits of it is now I can brag to people. I've climbed Ben Nevis, you haven't. But also shows you like, oh, it takes this long to climb about over 1,000 meters. Imagine trying to do Mount Everest. Think how long it would take, how much more dangerous it would be. And also, something I found nicely interesting that down through through upper lower levels of Scottish Highland, it was heavily raining. It was raining a lot. But since we were up in the mountains, the rain wasn't really affecting us much. It did feel a bit cold, a bit misty, but it really wasn't that too bad. Nonetheless, it was quite interesting, quite useful, uh, good life skills, and always knowing that it's almost impossible to convince your dad to do anything. But, you know, very good. Tiring. Would I do it again? Yes. Would I do it again with my dad? Probably not. Anyhow, afterwards on Sunday, the 20th of July, we reunited with the rest of my family, had decided to head northwards to the UK's most northernmost city, Inverness. And we didn't go directly to Inverness, but we instead stopped off in a couple of places. First, we stopped off in Fort Augustus, taking pictures by Loch Ness. Loch Ness. And, well, the issue was Fort Augustus is full of tourists. Like, I didn't notice how many tourists there were, but it's jam-packed with tourists. And, there were a lot, but, I'll tell you what it is. Then we headed on the north side of the loch, going past Invergary Castle and other small stuff. No, actually, no, Urquhart Castle, Invergary Castle, I think. And before we headed straight into Inverness, where we parked near the Inverness Cathedral, and we just took a walk around near Belfield Park. And we also got some food from the street vendor, because there was a couple of street vendors nearby, so we got some food. And I do now remember Invergary Castle, then Urquhart Castle early on. But yeah, we got some food from a street vendor. Then we headed on our way back to our homestay in ḻᴇᴏ, and had a very nice dinner. Anyhow, on Monday the 21st, me and the rest of the family, we headed up to Fort William. First thing that we did was that we went onto the Ben Nevis Range mountain gondola, like a cable car, and that was actually really nice, quite fun, going up 600 meters into the cloud, and then, doing a bit of hiking, took some pictures on a small summit or hillet, and, was really wishing that we had that on Ben Nevis, but alas, we didn't. Anyway, we headed back down into Fort William. By the way, it takes 15 minutes to get up to the top and 15 minutes to get to the very bottom. So we headed back down and we went into the West Highland Museum, which was quite interesting. We saw some Scottish Gaelic speakers and Scottish Gaelic exhibitions, yeah. And we went around, got some more stuff as memorials for doing Ben Nevis and the general sort of overall climbing thing in Scotland, along with other stuff that we got from Fort Augustus earlier on. After that, we headed back and took a rest because it had begun raining quite heavily. I'm from the northeast of England, always in the northeast, so it doesn't rain that too heavily. But when you get to the north and west of Britain, it really rains. It really, really rains, and I was not expecting it to rain that much. But went back, took a rest, and prepared ourselves for our next long journey. Anyway, on Tuesday, the 22nd of July, we headed on our long journey to Eyemouth, but on a different way. Weaving back through the Highlands into the Central Lowlands, going round Perth and crossing over the M90 near Queensferry, we headed into Edinburgh and we took a walk around, or as they say, Old Reekie. And Edinburgh was very nice. We went up and down the Royal Mile. We saw a stage act. We saw the castle, the Parliament, the Palace, Holyrood Palace, Scotland's Parliament, and Edinburgh Castle. But we were just a couple of days. We were about 1 or 2 weeks before the Edinburgh military tattoo, which is the march. We did want to go to Arthur's Seat, but unfortunately we weren't able to get there in time because it's getting quite late. So we headed back nearby the coast to Eyemouth, which is which was quite nice to see the sea again after being inland for so long. Well, the North Sea, because northeasterners. But we went to Eyemouth and we just took a rest. Although I will say something that was a bit strange for seeing the Queen Herring Festival everywhere I went, and all the lampposts and all the banners and the bouquets, they were signs saying the Queen Herring Festival. But then that was a very nice day. Anyhow, on Wednesday the 23rd, we headed off to Holy Island, or Lindisfarne, as you know, to see the abbey and the town. Lindisfarne itself is a tidal island, so like Spurn Point. Essentially what it means is that you can drive to it, but every now and again, at certain parts of the day, the tide will come in and completely block the route. So we were running on a bit of a, on a ticking time bomb, since we had to get there quite early in the morning. So we went there, saw the castle, saw the town, saw the abbey, and the abbot, walked around, and it was quite nice. We did do I did do a bit of rock climbing and jumping over some of the tidal area, and it was really quite nice, and I could see, I think, the Farne Islands, which were quite cool. The area was where the where the Viking Age began, well, for England, and it was quite nice. We got there, we got back at around 11, 12-ish. Then we just took a walk around Eyemouth Beach. Looked at the seal, saw both my sisters lose their ice creams due to the seagulls, or should I say herringulls. And yeah, that was very, and that was very nice, and quite nice to be on that day out. Unfortunately, on Thursday, the 24th of July, we had to go back home. So we packed up our stuff and we headed from Eyemouth all the way back to Hull. Along the way, we stopped off near Durham, near Finchal Priory, that's it. And we saw the River Ware, and we crossed the river and just had some lunch, rested there before we continued on through the southern uplands and between the Pennines and the North Yorkshire moors, and then we were back home again. It was quite nice. So overall, what did I think of it? I think Scotland was a very nice trip. I really enjoyed it. Really nice, and made me appreciate Scotland and being out in the cold, wet Scottish weather. But very nice. Would I suggest people to take the route? Yes. And if I had more time, I would have liked to go even more northward up Scotland, maybe like Aberdeen, Ullapool, maybe the Isles of Orkney if I'm lucky, or even Isle Mull or the Isle of Skye. That would have been nice, and maybe going around seeing some more of the mountains. That would have been nice. And obviously seen more in Carlisle because I didn't really see much in Carlisle. I actually stayed outside of Carlisle, and yeah, overall very good trip. Would suggest people to go on trips like that because it broadens the mind, and I feel like I want to travel more. So definitely do travel. Anyway, that'll be all from me. This has been Adam from the host of The Martian, and to you, have a very Good morning, night, day, evening, and sleep tight. This is my 35th voiceover, and I did not use the script at all. All this has been natural, and I've done it as well as I can off the top of my head. So I've been speaking for about almost 8 hours, not 6 hours, like 8, 9 hours. I'm tired. So, like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that notification bell, and enjoy the rest of the day.